Supreme Court case, Hustler magazine versus Falwell, so famous and still today taught in law schools throughout the country?
Well, Falwell preached against me for about 15 years in the 70s and 80s. And he was blaming me for every ill that society embodied. So we did a satirical parody in the magazine about him. And so he sued me. And I wound up having to go to trial in his backyard down in Lynchburg, Virginia, and got 12 born-againers on the jury, you know. So even though they found no liable, and the judge concurred that there was no liable, they still awarded him damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress, which basically means they awarded him damages because I hurt his feelings. And so when the case went to this, we lost in the circuit court too. So I didn't think we had a shot at the Supreme Court, but we got there, and it wound up being a unanimous decision. And even though I thought I was going to lose right up until I heard the news, now I understand why. Because if the Supreme Court would allow that decision to stand, where you did not have to prove liable, you could only have to prove that somebody hurt your feelings, or your wife's feelings, or your dog's feelings, or something. You know, you could file a lawsuit, and I felt that they realized that the courts could just be burdened with these kind of lawsuits. So basically, that was the first time in the history of our country that the Supreme Court said that parody is protected speech. And Jon Stewart, David Letterman, Dave Leno, all these guys, they can now do what they do because of that case from 1984.
Brilliant. Larry, you have been a very, very strong proponent of the First Amendment and free speech. How do you respond to critics that say it should not apply to your magazines, videos, and work?
Well, everybody has their own version of what free speech should be about. But you pay a price for everything, and the price you pay to live in a free society is toleration. You have to tolerate things that you don't necessarily like so you can be free. But, freedom of speech is not freedom for the thought you love. It's freedom to the thought you hate the most.
During the height of Bill Clinton's impeachment trial, you helped bring down Speaker-elect Bob Livingston of the House of Representatives. Please describe what happened and what other politicians during that time did you receive, other famous politicians that you were able to share that you received information on when you came up with this creative idea of paying $1 million to show the hypocrisy in the system of individuals that were prosecuting Clinton that had similar...
Well, in the process, we nailed Gingrich too, but, I get criticized a lot about the investigations we do on politicians. They say, you're only interested in exposing their sex lives, and nothing could be farther from the truth. It's the hypocrisy that we're after. Livingston said, when he was accused, he said that he had never strayed from his marriage. He had never been romantically involved with a federal employee or anybody, a lobbyist or anybody that worked for him on Capitol Hill. Well, when we concluded our investigation, he was sleeping with a female federal judge and an intern in his office and a lobbyist on Capitol Hill. So, and when we busted him, we had the goods. He had nowhere to turn. So he resigned, and he did an interview with the New York Times, and they asked him what he thought about me, and he said, well, I think Larry Flynt is a bottom feeder. So they called me for a comment, and I said, yeah, that's right, but look what I found when I got down there. We don't go after just Republicans. We're an equal opportunity offender, but the conservatives make it easy because they've got so much baggage, and usually because of their religion and and being brought up in a conservative household, they have a tendency to accumulate this baggage, and then when they get out in the real world, they don't know how to deal with it.